Hello all and welcome back to the America's Health Ethics Virtual Forum. It is now my honor to introduce you to, apologies all. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to Deputy Adriana Ventura of the Brazilian Congress or Chamber of Deputies and President of FECC, the Parliamentary Front Ethics Against Corruption. Deputy Ventura, we are honored to have you with us today. The floor is now yours.
Thank you very much. I'm going to speak in Portuguese, okay? It's easier for me. So, first of all, good afternoon.
Então,
quero aqui cumprimentar o ministro da Saúde.
Good afternoon. I would like to acknowledge Carlos Leal, Ministry of Health, all the authorities here present, and extend a special thank you to Carlos Gouveia, who organized this event. So all the speakers from Brazil and other countries in America, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Adriana Ventura. I'm a federal congresswoman from the state of São Paulo, and I'm a president of the Parliamentary Front Against Corruption. So it's with great pleasure that I see the birth of this framework as the president of the Front Ethics Against Corruption and a representative of the Congress. I would like to praise this initiative, especially because when we say that the fight against corruption is going to be won by points and not by knockout, what we do here is pave the way so that we are able to win this fight of ethics, integrity, and the fight against corruption by points. Mentioning something that some have already mentioned, throughout the pandemic, we've witnessed some setbacks. We almost were knocked out. And we also know that the pandemic is a fertile terrain for corruption and deviations. And the question is, why does the money reach where it has to go? So when we recognize emergency situations with all the effects generated, budget laws and bidding laws, we still see that we have to debate this subject openly because there are a lot of dilemmas, ethical dilemmas, especially considering procurement in health. So of course, money was needed to purchase medications, equipment, to build hospitals, to hire staff, or else we wouldn't have the agility. However, the bidding laws that were relaxed because of the urgent situation created a fertile environment, a fragile environment. So we here at the Congress have been working from the ethics front. We have been working to provide more transparency to the emergency procurement. So we're talking not only about the obligation of all public bodies to publish everything on a specific website, but also to other laws that were passed. I would also like to mention another approach that might be more reflection, because it's so sad that we have to have laws to enforce something that is obvious. Ethics, integrity in public administration are things that should be basic. I always like to remember that once I was at a Congress debating codes of ethics in companies. And I remember that the president of a large company, when he was asked about the code of ethics in his company, it was a Japanese company, he replied, We do not need a code of ethics. My employees have values. That's why I would like to mention something that I always ask: the rescue of values that are essential for a society. Because the more values a society has, less laws it needs. So fewer laws. So it's an absurd that we have to create laws for basic values. But transparency should be a starting point. And we suffer a lot here to make things transparent. That should be natural. So we have to create laws to deal with, money spending, find out how the money was spent. But in my view, our culture is failing on a daily basis. It's, when you cut off a line, when you don't give back change that you received more. So we cannot not bring the education issue to the debate. So when I look at people in education here, I get thrilled, because it is only through education that we will change the reality on the basis. We have to talk about ethics, but ethics of integrity, of values, and go back to basics. And I am a representative of the Federal Congress. And we have observing that when the healthcare is extremely vulnerable, we are at a moment that access to vaccine and medications means the difference between life and death. Even in this type of situation, the corruption was curbed. We have seen a lot of embezzlement, and the money didn't get where it should get. Not even that the lack of resources would cause death made corrupts stop their actions, that there was no type of moral break. So we have seen a lot of irregularities regarding vaccine purchases, a lot of corruption and schemes in the building of hospitals. We've seen a lot of people going to jail, but we've also seen good initiatives. The federal government and the National Congress created denouncement or report channels, and they received a lot of reports that generated a lot of investigation. But when we look at Brazil, at the country, and the population so unhappy when witnessing so many setbacks in the fight against corruption, the only thing that we can do is to fight for transparency, because that's the only remedy that will provide clarity again, be the basis of reputation, and bring credibility to our country. And the National Congress can help a lot. We can shift that paradigm and make ethics and integrity essential conditions for healthcare management. So I'm going to mention 3 things that are, in my point of view, important: to improve legislation that promote corruption and reduce impunity. So we have to start with reducing special privileges for politics. We have in Brazil 60,000 political figures that have special privileges, and that's a problem because impunity just reigns. One other thing is FECC 199 that talks about imprisonment in second trials. And I would like to mention a suggestion from a citizen that doubled the penalties for crimes committed during the pandemic, because we've had billions of reais embezzled. This project was approved by the Chamber of Congressmen, went to the Senate, but the Senate is sitting on it. So to improve legislation would be the first step. The second step would be to monitor the executive actions and strengthen the fiscalization process. Here at the Congress, my party specifically has the role of monitoring, surveilling our leadership. And we monitor the contracts of the Ministry of Health. And whenever there's a suspicion, we promote control and surveillance. So all congressmen and congresswomen should do that, because that's our primary role. We have to monitor the executive power. So whenever we found a suspicion of overpricing, besides, offer and demand, we promote a fiscalization. And the third point, which is also very important, is to demand more transparency regarding all public data with the use of technology, digitalization, and open data sources. We have to also cut the red tape, because the excess of difficulties creates opportunities, decentralize the power for decision making. And through education, we may change this reality to promote, promoting debates with the civil society and all the bodies, entities of the three powers. So the Front Against Corruption observes this framework. And I would like to thank again for the opportunity of being here. I really appreciate the event that we're conducting today. Brazil deserves more, and whenever everyone participates, the participation of everyone is really important. Thank you very much.